In 1936, Nuffield Corporation were running the company, and they decided on a system of rationalisation whereby the three marques, Morris, Wolseley and MG, would use basically the same mechanical components to produce their cars. And so in 1936 was introduced the T series and the V series and the S series.
Here we have a VA Tickford from 1937. These cars were made from 37 till 39 when the war started in September. This car has a inline four-cylinder engine. It's about 1,500 cc's. They made about 3,000 of these cars, 2,500 to 3,000 cars. About 500 had this Tickford top, which was sent to Salmon's in England, where it was rebodied and had the special top made. Another 500 were made at the factory, which had a convertible top, and the remaining 1,200 or 1,500 had a saloon body, which was a hard top. All of them are four-passenger cars, and they're quite valuable today because of the very few numbers that were made prior to the war. Behind this is an SA Tickford. This is an extremely rare car. They made these from 1936 till 1939, again before the war. 3,000 were made altogether, about 2,000 were hardtop saloons, and the remaining 500 were the Tickford tops, and then another 500 were tours with just a plain convertible top. This has a six-cylinder engine instead of a four-cylinder engine and 2,000 cc capacity. These cars are very capable of driving smoothly at 80 miles an hour down the highway with good comfort. They do not have power steering, so they're a little more difficult to drive in slower city traffic. But they're very comfortable cars to drive.
Now the S came before the V?
The S came in 36, but they were both made 37, 38, 39.
And what distinguishes the two?
Bigger engine, bigger car, longer car. This is this is the same size as a TF engine, 1,500 cc's, so liter and a half. Well, that's a 2-liter for the SA.
And what you're looking at is a 1939 MGVA. You have a 1930, I believe, 8 MGVA in the background. This is the before. That would be an after car. This one's fairly original. Most people, when they think MG, they think little sports car. But a lot of times, where the profit's made is in the luxury or the practical cars. And so MG decided to go to a large series of cars, and they were the MGVA, the MGSA, and the MGWA, but World War II came along and stopped the WA. But this was the VA, four-cylinder, about 65 horsepower. Very practical, because you could put a family of 4 in it, put the top up, down. This is a Tickford model. It came in 3 models, a saloon model, which the factory made. Tickford was made by Solomon & Sons in Pagnell, England, and then you had the tourer version, which was made by somebody else. I don't remember who they were, but the Tickford version operated with what you're seeing it in right now is in the Coupe de Ville version. You could simply loosen those brackets and the whole top would go right back down, or you could unroll that and have a completely closed car with the roll-up windows. The saloon version, of course, is a hardtop version. This car was made in 1939, as I said, and it was registered in 1940. Its number is 2969, which means it was right near the end of the production period. And so it has a dry clutch and all the latest valve features and everything on the engine, whereas the car back here, this is, I believe, 1539, and it has a wet clutch. And that means that the sump when you filled these cars with oil, you put a lot of oil in them. And with the wet clutch, you put all the oil for the clutch too. So you had like, 15, 17 quarts of oil in these cars. This one only takes 12. That's still a lot of oil. So, but they are a very fine running car. They run like a dream. And when they show up at events, they were very neglected for years, but now they're coming back because these are a lot harder to store in a barn than the little ones. So that's why you find more of them around.
These are four-cylinder cars.
This was a four-cylinder.
The S was a six-cylinder?
Right, I am in the process of restoring an SA 2333, and that particular car will look like that, but that's every MG's dream, but it'll eventually be very nice. And the SA has a six-cylinder engine, 85 horsepower, and this car would be about 15.5 feet long. The SA would be about 18 feet long. The WA is just under 18. But it has 100 horsepower, so it's more powerful engine, but the WA a little shorter. But unfortunately, World War II stopped that production. So between these two cars, this one has options where whatever you could afford. Paint was whatever you could. If you saw it on the road, you'd say, I want my car painted that, and there was, if you look on, I've got the build sheets, and for options, whatever you would want. You could have them in metallics, and so this one has a smaller fog light. That one has a larger fog light, but it's because the owner told the factory that they want it. This is probably more correct, but that's because this was what would be standard. This one it's missing the front horn. It's got horns underneath, but for all I know, they may be optional. The SAs had their tires in the back, the VAs had their tires on the side, and the WAs also had their tires on the side in the fender. Back in, all through history and even today in modern times, there were aftermarket accessories that were incredible availability. So an owner could go out and get 2 or 3 versions of whatever he wanted to put on. There were tire covers that he could buy to put over the tire to protect it. There were wheel discs that we put over the wire wheels so you didn't have to polish the spokes. And that was a factory option. Cigar lighters, he's got a cigarette lighter in his. This one has a cigar lighter. All different kinds of instrumentation on the gauges. Both of them have trafficators, which is correct. Trying to think of some of the other options. This particular car has an oil temperature gauge plus a gas level gauge. You push a button and it will tell you your oil level, then you let it go and it tells you your gas level. Don't believe it, but that's what it's supposed to do. When I've driven this car, it is just like driving a modern car, except for it lacks power steering, but once you get moving, you don't notice it. And it's very, very smooth driving.
So you can go down the highway at what speed?
And this one, probably comfortably 65, 70 miles an hour. And with my SA, I put in a lower gear ratio, so hopefully I'll be able to do 85 if I want. But at 3,000 RPM, 65, gas mileage and all that. But they are a lot of fun to drive and always good for something to do. You never have spare time when you're an MG owner. Ask anybody here. And you have to be an optimist with these cars. Otherwise, you won't have it very long. So.
Car number 1, Walter Gessler's Anniversary Edition, 1936 SA.